Boom. Plane's in the sky, and we're moving our way forward. Pretty decent plane. I mean, at this point, honestly, to me, at this point, there isn't one plane, unless if you're a hardcore dedicated Kameshki team, if you're a hardcore dedicated Primorsk team. I mean, unless if you're like super outskirts, we see you to kill, they go to Sarki, right? But they will, at least as far as I'm concerned, always have a backup. So, for example, if the plane goes like this, or if it goes like this, there's no way in hell you're gonna go to Sargi. I mean, that's just dumb, honestly. I'll be honest. I'll be honest and say this: you'll just be dumb to go to Sargi if you have these sort of plane paths. You'll always have a backup plan. So shoot to kill, they'll go up to Sargi. Honestly, to me, Sargi is an underrated spot as well because first of all, no one's near you. The closest you'll have an opponent is in North George, right? The second you'll like you can have two encounters. This would be it. Nobody. Oh, up, up. We don't want to draw anything fancy here. Don't want to draw anything weird. Nope, nope. We almost did it. We almost did it. We didn't do it. But you know, um, what I'm trying to say is you'll always have room to rotate. Pretty much no matter where you're going. You'll always have room to rotate. Sorry. You'll always have plenty of room to rotate out of Saki. It might be on the outskirts. You might not have that much, like take that many buildings to loot. But if you're four guys and you can see Civil taking the compound down here, and because the new compound has been added where Pretty Curdy is, you actually have quite a bit of room to loot. And with the settings set up the way they are, you really don't need anything else. And you'll rotate. Maybe you'll find yourself a compound later that hasn't been looted either. You get a little more loot there. But I mean, overall, everyone's going to their, I guess you could say, designated places. And now that we have Nerf here, we can talk about Cloud9. Because where are they? For those of you guys who don't know, Cloud9 is a team. I keep looking over here. It's a really bad habit from when I'm streaming at home. But for those of you guys who don't know, Cloud9, they like to loot up in Pachinki. And I guess if you were to set tiers, like levels of where it's best to loot on a rankle, most people would say Pachinki is the best because it's center. You rarely ever have a circle that's really bad for you. But it also depends on where teams drop because I don't know what it is, but it's the same. We see it in property contenders as well. We've been used to before seeing, and I know this is a little different now because Noble would probably want to move even further. You just don't really see it here, but we've been used to seeing sometimes just one team have all school apps and Rozhok to themselves, and teams would still split off wide enough that there's room for everyone. But recently, Watertown taken by one team, Rozhok taken by one team. Apps in school this time around it's just one team doing these, but there could be a split in between this where you have like one team taking these four, another team taking apps. Now we have a team up here as well. There's so many teams that like to set center this early on, and I think it has something to do honestly with the way that this settings have changed, so that you have people saying, well, we don't have that much time to loot anymore. We must be closer to the center, and therefore they push their way further in. So let's see. Let's see. Circles goes center. Everyone's really in a decent spot to rotate in. It's not the biggest deal, and that's one of the things, right? Because if you're a center team, you have to know that much more. That's what I feel like. That's why you only see the good teams, and I can be honest and say that. That's why you only see the good teams go Pachinki. I mean, in every lobby where you have a Pachinki team, think about it. Try and think back, right? In every lobby that you play where you have a Pachinki team, more often than not, that team will also be probably a top three, top four team in the lobby. Because if you rotate out of Pachinki, there's so many teams. Like, sure, you're close to the circle, but you will always like you will also have that many more teams around you. Whereas if you come from Sarki, well, I mean, there's no one looting north of you because that's water. There's no one looting west of you because that's water. There's people looting east, but as we talked about before, it's so easy to know where people are, and if you have a somewhat decent idea of when they like to go, you can just kind of look forward and see where things are in front of you. Whereas if you go out from Pachinki, people could be rotating all around you. You have rotate paths over and above. You have underneath, above, over towards Potato. You have people sitting up in Pachinki Hill. I mean, there could be people everywhere when you try to rotate out of Pachinki. Sure, it's more center, but that also just means that you have that many more people around you. But let's get further into game number one. VG, they'll get looted up in their farm split. SSG doing their fairy pier split. Not a whole lot new under the sun. Looks like Wildcard, they said, well, we want to go prim, but let's not go all the way down there. Can't be bothered to waste time going there. Envy, they'll be going up to Yasnaya. Envy having Moody on their team now, in case you guys didn't know. And also Ghost, they changed up things. They added Shrimsy instead of Frolica. That's like the two main, like the two biggest roster things. And then I think, was it Noble? Yeah, Noble, they put in Walter Jr.'s legs. Or is it just Walter Jr. now? I think it's Walter Jr.'s legs, right? I can find him right now. Noble. Noble. There you go, Walter Jr. They added in Walter Jr., their coach, to their playing roster now as well, and they benched their fourth player. So let's see what happens here. What happens here? People, plenty of rotation opportunities. You want to go center. Only issue being, and I was just gonna say this, if teams do go potato, which would make sense to do, I mean, there's pretty much only room for one or two teams up there. You don't want to be that far out in the open this early on. You want to get control, you want to get vision. But if you're sitting on potato, there's only so many places you can look around because sure, you want to look really far away and all these things, but you also have to worry about teams being close to you. So you can't just focus on what's far and what's wide. And also, as far as I'm concerned, oh no, actually that might not be a thing because you guys are playing offline servers, so that doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. But it's always tricky when you're in these sort of open areas early on in the game. A lot of teams coming in from the north, and this is also a thing. This is also a thing that we saw in PCL the other day. Because if you look at Potato itself, this area right here, this is kind of the area of the mountain, right? You don't have any compounds north. The only compounds you have are all the way down the hill in school and apps. If you go south, though, you have a lot of compounds. And then the issue I've had before was that all these teams that come in from the sides, they instead of going up around the northern side, especially because, as we talked about before, we know there are a lot of teams up here already looting, which means, well, they're probably not moving that far. So a lot of teams will try to swoop underneath from both sides, or come up from over here, or come up from over here, doesn't matter, and take this area down here. And then if the next circle goes back up north again, it's so hard. I mean, you can rotate on a, what do you say? Not horizontal, but like west to east over potato pretty easily. But you rarely ever see, and I mean, that's the thing, right? If you have a rotation going south to north, when do you ever see a team rotating up here? Like if teams are going north, they'll go over on the sides, they'll go over on the sides, they'll maybe go up here and try and rotate in, but you and then you can do it like this, but that's not really straight up either. You rarely ever see anyone drive down like that. Mainly because what you're running into is school and apps in an open field. That's not really where you want to go. So you get a lot of teams in the south into all these compounds down here. And then on the north, of course, because people landed up there now, they probably won't be moving. But we'll see where the next circle takes us in order to figure out whether that chaos is gonna be a thing or not. Well, it kinda is. Now there are plenty of compounds available though. And as you can see, everybody, well, with the exception of Smoking Aces, are in their vehicles already. I have to put this computer screen, or like TV screen, closer to me. Give me just 1 second. Oh my god, it's a heavy TV. Because I can't see what you guys are writing. There you go. Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing, Grim. You don't really want to get over aggressive that early on. I mean, so most teams don't. The teams that the teams that like to get in the late game, they tend to not really want to be that aggressive early on, which makes sense. Which makes a lot of sense. And that's what you see. I mean, that's what a lot of teams have done to begin with. That's probably the biggest change I've seen with the point system that we have here is that in the beginning of a lobby, I can only talk about the European teams, right? I can talk about the American and the Korean ones as well, but just for comparison, the for example, a team in Avangard, CIS team very aggressive. The first day, the first 2 days actually, they just went aggressive like we've seen them do before. They just went full aggro. They lost one player early in a fight, and that would cost them so much in the late game. Now, what we see them do instead is that they'll take the first 3 circles. They're a team that likes to land on the edges. They'll take the first 2, 3 circles where they're just like, nope, not gonna happen. We're gonna be sitting even out in the blue if we have to in order to not fight anyone. And then when they come into the late game, because if you fight early, if you fight circle one, pretty much 9 out of 10 times you'll be in a 4v4. I mean, odds are that your opponents will not have lost a guy yet on your first rotation. It happens to some teams, sure, but it's not that often. Well, technically right now I'm in Ukraine, but I'm from Denmark. Whereas too, if you take a fight just 2 or 3 circles later, there's a pretty big chance that that team has lost maybe one player, maybe even two. And what would you rather have? I know you technically get more points off the other, but what would you rather have? A 4v4 where sure, you get 4 points for winning the fight, but you also lose a guy. That means you're three guys remaining for the past, like for the next 7 circles. Or would you rather have a 4v3, only get 1 point less, or 4v2 for that's at 2 points less, but have four guys alive coming into your next fight, right? Rather have a lot of small fights and points accumulating that way than trying to full YOLO go into a 4v4 and lose players in doing so. Because the people that can come into late game with four alive, I mean, so far ahead, so much of a bigger chance in order to win this game. Have a good one, Nerf, and thank you so much for the host, man. Thank you so much, and good luck tomorrow. Good luck tomorrow. We'll sit here and we'll look at what you guys are doing. Maybe we'll figure out how things unfolded and how you said you had bad games. We'll figure out what made them bad. Of course, we don't know exactly what you're saying to each other, but we'll take it. I'll keep an eye on it. Keep an eye on it. But nonetheless, have a good one. Have a good one, and thank you so much for the host, man. Much appreciated. So as we can see, a lot of teams are coming in from the north. It is a southeastern shift, which means that Milta, Farm, all these areas are pretty much open. Endemic, they'll be looking to go down, maybe down towards Farm, I would assume. I mean, this is where you have to scout forward, but it's so hard to scout because there's so many compounds around here. So if you come down late, you can't really peek a window without being shot at by anyone else. For sure, Nerf, I will do that. I'll do that. It's gonna cost you, of course, Cloud9 money, but I'm just kidding. Just kidding. For sure. I will do that. I will do that. My advice is not for free. Cloud9 Toby. Oh, that has a good ring to it. Cloud9 Toby. Huh. If I get like one of those cool mansions as well. Oh yeah. Yeah. American dream. I don't know. I don't know. Right now it's the Ukrainian dream. We'll see how long that lasts. I think we're going. I really want to try to drive a tank. I've heard you can do that in Ukraine. That could be kind of cool. I don't know. You can do a lot of fun things here. So Whites and Fate, always wise in their rotations. They're going wide and far. They've already lost one guy. That's the thing, right? You don't want to lose even more players early on. So everyone's kind of in. Oxy coming in way east. Whites and Fate coming in west. And Whites and Fate, they're, what do you say? They're a wise team in the sense that they hit the circle. That's what you want to try and do. If you're a team that's far out, you want to hit the circle as soon as it pops. Because then you're already. That's the same thing you see with teams. They'll be going to their vehicles just about 5 seconds before, and then start driving. And then when the circle hits, and if they get it, they just do you like 180 and go back to where they were. You want to have that 1 2 second step on your opponent. Because in the end, if you're trying to beat an opponent to a compound, that could be the difference maker. Whether you get to the compound, jump out and start shooting, or if you hit the wall at the exact same time, those 2 seconds are going to be such a big difference. That's why you see the scout of certain teams make that jump into the vehicle just before the circle pops in case they have to go elsewhere. And for Whites and Fate, if they can hit the circle at the second it hits, and then they're already full speed to sort of catapult themselves towards the new circle. So good timing. I mean, Valiant is a little behind, but he does have high poke and Bahawaka. Um, close enough to the circle. Hey, Buggy, thanks for staying awake. I hope you don't have anything you need to wake up to do that. I'm sorry for keeping you awake, but I'm glad that you want to stay here because who knows? Maybe you will learn something. Maybe you can teach me something. That's always good. I mean, what I can tell you, the reason that we're doing this is one, because I want to watch the games myself this way. I watch the games also normally, but I want to watch them this way because you can get like you can pause things and go a little more in depth. But also because I like to talk to you guys about it. I mean, maybe there's stuff that you guys know that I don't know. Maybe there's stuff I know that you don't. Always the chance. Dead center circle. This is chaos. Because so you just shifted out of pretty much 90% of the compounds. You had mills up, you had all this stuff on the southern side, and well, rip because the entire north, like if you cut the circle in half, that's 3 compounds. One, two, three. And nobody's gonna stay up where Noble is because outside that's gonna be out the next circle. Hey, sneaky. Also, that's going to be out. The issue with shoot to kills compound is it's a great spot to sit because it's hard to push. You have that entire open field down here and on the northern side for that sake. But as we talk about normally, the harder a circle is to push, equally hard is compound. Sorry, the harder compound is to push, equally hard would that compound be to leave for another team. Because for that open path, that just means that teams can start shooting, shooting, and then keep on shooting down towards you. So I'm not sure if shoot skill's gonna stay. I would assume that they would, but maybe send one guy up towards shelter just to make sure that they. Oh, they said LO up here instead. Okay, there's Silder here, same thing, same concept. Split out so you have a guy in control to take another position if needed. And Envy, they just want that center. You saw Endemic, I remember seeing this. They came up to the, I mean, Envy has a 2-2 split, right? Envy sits 2-2. Um, Interrogate and Pats, they're sitting over on the eastern side. And then you have Endemic. They say, we don't want farm anymore. Even though it's in the circle, we don't want farm. We want to go up and take the wizard that's up here. And Envy, they're like, well, I mean, because they see Moody and Venerated see them driving, and Interrogate and Padcaps come up. I think intentionally Padcaps and Interrogate wanted to take the wizard, but they don't because Endemic starts come up. We see them stopping right here. They stop immediately when they come up. Moody and Venerated comes over, and then they just have a perfect crossfire down towards them, and they get pretty much wrecked within seconds. And then you have Cloud9 over here in the western side. Let's now that there's so many Nerf friends here in the chat, we'll take a little look at Cloud9. So Smoking Aces, they rotated in extremely slowly. They have vehicles, and so do Cloud9. They're now starting to make that move on up. But now they're getting beat to it by Wildcard. Two issues here. One, Wildcard will probably hear the shooting because Cloud9 had to focus. Oh my god, we got a full team coming from behind. They probably wanted, because they pushed up the way that we saw, probably wanted to see if they can get some shots fired on Wildcard. That's not gonna happen because all of a sudden they had to shoot behind them, and you see it right there. They stopped right after they heard those shots. Immediately pull the brakes, turn around, start fighting Cloud9. And this is honestly, this is the perfect third-party opportunity for Smoking Aces if they want to engage on it. A team that we know likes a third party, White Sim Fate, they're jumping out of their vehicles too. Of course, you don't really want to drive in Potato if you can avoid it. But all of a sudden, Cloud9, instead of being able to move in early because their timing just went off against Smoking Age, you see they're just right here. Full on White Sim Fate pushing in on it, losing two guys really quickly. It's a really, really bad timing. All of a sudden, they're the edge team. They get hard shifted away from on top of that. That's just a really tough situation. So if you're seeing where they sit, once the circle pops, of course, they're hoping the shift comes towards Potato. Once it pops, honestly, they should already be on the move there. It's hard. That's the issue. We talked about it, right? You cannot scout that far east from Potato. You have the entire view over Pachinki. Sure, that's all good, but it's really hard to look out towards the east. Hey, trainees, привет. How are you doing, my friend? But they're sitting up here trying to hold it. Like Lopes and Profi, they're holding while Nerf and K-Mine pick up the vehicles because now they want to rotate. But right as they're ready to go, Smoking Aces come up saying, "Hello, guys," and they don't even want to fight them. Like they shoot one shot and then they just leave again. It's just like, why do you have to do this to us? We were about to rotate. Then you see them start to making their move, and Smoking Aces comes back once again. Now they're four guys. I mean, it's smart. They go up, spot the guys. Well, we're not four. Let's disengage. Wait for the cavalry to come up. Now we're 4v4. Push up, potentially take the fight. And then they don't. Then they run back off again because they hear Wildcard pull up in their vehicles. So they stop all of a sudden, and then it just becomes a cluster. And if there's a team you don't want to allow to get a third party opportunity, that's why it's in Fate, right? Good to hear. Good to hear. And for those of you guys again who don't know who Drain is, I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't know, but Drain is a very, very talented PUBG player from the CIS community. He has a lot of medals, I guess you can say, to put around his neck. Very talented player, has been on top of the game for a very, very long time. And then he had a little break. He was like, you know what, I'll be an analyst, I'll be a commentator and interviewer. But all of a sudden, back in the game he is. So welcome back, my good comrade from Russia. Welcome back. How do you say welcome in Russian? I'm out of the game. I've never been a player, Buckley. I've never been a player. I mean, I have been in the aspect that I play the game a lot, but I've never been a professional player. I've just been very, very, very um dobre pozalovat. Dobre pozalovat. I don't even know how if that's dobre pozalovat. That's what we're gonna say. Yeah, we'll act like that's the way you're supposed to say it. But nonetheless, we can see right here, Cloud9 in all sorts of trouble. Four teams around them. Sure, they might be able to push on in on foot, but it's not exactly going to be easy. Circle goes hard east, shoot to kill. They're going to be very satisfied with this shift. If we look how it sits here, right? I mean, there's not a lot of, there's not a lot of, there's not a big chance of them saying, you know what, we'll stay here because the circle's going to come. All of a sudden, bada bing, bada boom, up there it goes anyway. Pretty fortunate. And Envy, of course, already in the circle, they were sitting dead center. And that's the thing, right? When you're sitting in circle 4 to 5, if you have a center position, if you look at the size of this circle, and put it anywhere within the blue right now. There is not a place you can put it where Envy would not be in. It hard shifts east. They're in on the edge. No matter where you set it, they will always be inside the circle. That's the benefit of going center, especially late game. Especially late game, you will always be in. Circle 4 to 5, you know what? Like we all know that's the shrink where blue damage starts really becoming harder, and all these teams they're on the edge. I mean, speaking of on the edge, right? They're all sitting up here, and only reason they are is because this huge open area is so hard to push on through. They don't know if there's teams down here, so they're kind of just trapping each other up on the western side. But I mean, circle damage increases by quite a bit, and we reach that point where because teams play passively, there's not going to be enough room in the circle. I mean, maybe in a city circle, like where it's full on Yasnaya, like if it was just Yasnaya, all of this, you can do it. But other than that, there's not going to be enough room. So a lot of teams get eliminated. So if you're sitting center in circle 4 to 5, first of all, you're going to be in. And second of all, odds are that 4 to 5 teams will be eliminated while you're sitting in there, and technically might not even have to do anything in order to get those 4 to 5 teams eliminated. Sure, you won't get those kills, but again, you'll be 4 guys alive in the late game, and that beats early fights by 10 billion times. If you can be 4 guys alive when there are 15 people left in the game, odds are that you can get yourself 6, 7 kills off of just that anyway. So why would you care for 4 kills early if you're gonna lose 2 players when you get them, right? So let's see Noble. They're rotating in from the top. I mean, that's the thing. Noble actually played pretty smart. We're about to find out. Test it. Oh, I hope that's not true. That'll be unfortunate. You've never seen a stream like this? Buckley! Exclamation mark YouTube. I have done an analysis of all the NPL games up until this point. Go in there. Spread the news. So, we see them all push in. Miluk, smart center position. They like to send one guy in to sit on the circle. Smart play coming in from him. And somehow Simplicity and Cloud9 actually both kind of made it in through this. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to stay alive though. As you can see, multiple teams now shooting at them. And honestly, this is probably the worst circle Cloud9 could get. Like straight up the worst circle. Because you say, but why is it bad? They're close to the center. Yes, but the only place that all these teams that are out here can push into the circle, doink, is this way. They will all have to push the western side. And why is that? Down here, you have one shack you can play around. That's about it. That's the only thing inside the circle. Everybody knows that there's a team sitting up here ready to shoot, and they will not want to drive straight on up because, I mean, first of all, this line right here, that's where you go and you do like your double and triple backflips, right? So that's extremely steep, which means that if you try to drive up and over, you're just going to fly into the air, you're going to land somewhere here, and then you're going to have zero, like you're going to be completely stale target, and you don't want to have envy shooting at you if you're holding still in your vehicle. So the only thing you can do, really, is try and go all the way over this side. That's the only rotation you can do from here. Shoot to kill, sure, they have people up on here, but if you're the teams that are over here, how would you want to rotate this way around? There's just like there's here, over here is the same thing, a huge steep wall. If you're on vehicles, it's gonna be so hard to really get out of there. Knock should count points in point system. Mm, I don't think knocks should give points. I think knocks that are finished off by someone else should give points. You know what I mean? So if you knock the same guy 3 times, you should not get 3 points. But if you knock a guy and he gets killed by someone else, then you should get points. Like if he gets revived, then it should be 0 points, I think. But if you only get the knock and someone else kills him, then I agree that should be worth the points because well, more often than not, that was a harder task than for the guy to just tap him away and finish him. It's kind of like with American football. Now there are many Americans here, right? A quarterback, for those of you guys who don't know American football that well, you have a quarterback, he throws the ball, you have a receiver, he catches the ball. If the quarterback steps back and throws the ball to a guy that's standing right next to him, like he can just do this with the ball. Boink. The most simple small throw in the universe. He'll just throw that little ball, boink, just like that. And then the guy that catches the ball, he like runs 10 kilometers and dodges 10,000 tackles and gets into the end zone. That quarterback, if the quarterback throws the ball 1 yard and the receiver runs it 70 yards, the quarterback gets 71 yards passing. How does that begin to make sense? Like how? That's not him. He didn't do that. That's the receiver. He didn't do anything to deserve that. That's the only statistic in American football that's so weird to me. Sure, there are other scenarios where the quarterback does the entire throw and the receiver pretty much just stands still and catches it. But I think the receivers they should only get like the quarterback should only get credit for where the ball is caught, not what happens afterwards. And that's kind of the same thing that we're talking about with the whole points thing, right? Because you do all the heavy lifting to get a guy knocked because he's probably shooting back at you, and then some other guy just comes in, doink, let me just grab those points right there. It's so stupid. It makes no sense. So you could have a guy that throws a ball, they are like 80 yards, but technically only threw it two. It's so confusing. Um, but nonetheless, Cloud9 in a rough spot here. You have a huge passage up there that you cannot cross through, so everybody there on sides. Like normally you would see if you get a hard shift here, Noble could technically want to push around this way, but they don't. They go down here. This just becomes like a bottleneck for teams to get through, and Cloud9 has already lost two, make that three players actually, because Lopes is all by himself now. So rough game for them. They really got screwed over by smoking aces on that rotation because you can see they pulled up their vehicles. Honestly, in hindsight, probably should have gone up with those cars earlier because they were up there. They knew there was no one west of them. I mean, why would you still have your cars parked? If you go back and look real quick, why would you still have your cars parked in this circle down here if you could just bring those vehicles up here and be ready to move earlier? I know that they're probably sitting and waiting to make sure that nobody's coming in late from underneath, but they actually happens anyway because right as they go, not one but two teams come up. Had they all been up here when the circle popped, I mean, it's not that long of a time. How many seconds is it? They go into the cars there. 48. We're talking 40 seconds. 40 seconds it takes. 35 actually. 35 seconds. They could have rotated 35 seconds earlier. And had they done that, had they rotated right when the circle popped, like driven now, Smoking Aces would never have seen them. Wildcard would never have seen them. And Whites and Fate would never have seen them. So had they been able to just get here instead of sitting out here, they would have been inside the circle, potentially even being able to push four guys down towards Envy, like just crash that area with four guys alive, and they could have had a completely they could have had the Envy game that ended up happening. But nonetheless, down they go, and the new circle did indeed pop. So let's see here. Goes down south. We talked about how they're in a rough spot. I think Lopesy probably goes down. Yep, there you go. United pushing around the side. Noble do the exact same thing. Shoot to kill. That's what we saw talking about. They have to go around and over. They cannot just go straight up. They do go up though. Oh, there you go. There's a little bit of a dip up there, like a ridge line up there. The gutter. They can sort of prone their way in. And this is just a horrible place to have an endgame, honestly. You have a big uphill here, and then it kind of goes downhill on this side. Ghost, they need to make their way up. Tempo Storm sitting dead center. And the only team, honestly, because you can say, well, Tempo Storm is sitting in the best spot because that's the furthest in the center of the circle, sure. But they'll have teams pushing up here. They'll have to deal with Lasarius pushing over the road. And honestly, I mean, right now, Shoot to Kill, they're kind of trapped where they are. But the only place they can really go is try to go around this way and push on up here as well. So it might be a good center position, but Tempo Storm is going to have to fight three teams off. And that's not going to be easy at all. Whereas to Envy, Well, they can engage in all of this that's happening out here, but technically all they have to do is let them kill each other, make sure that their backs are safe, and they can just look inward. Have two guys over here. Toby, don't do it. Look down this way. Have people up here. Look this way, and then just schematically push your way further forward. Just one step at the time. One step at the time. So they're out here and we holding off anyone coming in from the west. They want to make sure their backs are clear. It makes perfect sense. You always have to do that. And all of a sudden now, as we talked about, teams are pushing up. Ghost actually going into Oxy instead makes sense. I thought we were going to rotate out this way. But they go in there. Tempo Storm, want a third party. We know that's what they like to do, and they do it great. So Ghost, Rimsey, and Balak on the south, and then you have Shoot to Kill, somehow still alive up north. They're going to be way out in the open, though. Moody goes down, gets back on up. Tempo Storm forced to a fight. Strimsy and Balak, they're forced throughout this way because Envy is pushing them out. Huge fight happening. Tempo Storm gets the finishes off Shoot to Kill. Balak goes down, I believe so, in the end there as well. Somehow still alive though. Great third place, honestly. They had a compound for a while, but that does go down in third. I don't even know how many kills they got off of that either. Dead Circle, final one. And this is what Tempo Storm does really well. You see him right here. They keep Sharky in the corner and rotate out with three. So they have the surprise position here, so that once these guys start fighting, it's like a reverse flank, I guess you can say, where you're trying to attract all the attention. Like, woohoo, we're over here. While in the meantime, Sharky can sit and try and pick off people. But I believe he actually is the first guy to go down. Oh, he's not the first, but he gets spotted pretty quickly. And just did not work at all. Because as funny or as smart as it was to push around like that, as much were Envy ready for it. I mean, Pat Gaps, he gets knocked immediately, but look at how fast the reaction time is for the rest of the team. They saw him over there, like they see Sharky over here, but they immediately know where the focus is. Boom, and they just push over this way. This is the main threat. We can deal with Shaggy or Sharky later, and and they get the win off of it, I believe, right? Yeah, they do. So well played by Envy. I mean, Moody hasn't been on the team, and they said he flew in the day before the event. So I mean, everything considered, that's pretty darn impressive that they can pull off such a good performance, considering that they haven't really played together at all. Good job. And that was a little longer game one, but nonetheless we got through it. Game number one in the books. Now we're jumping over to Miramar, and that's always interesting, as we all know. Always interesting. Yeah, exactly. It was really a good idea by um what am I saying? By Tempo Storm to push around and try to get themselves into a better position like that. I mean, had it been that's the thing, right? Because had it been against any other team, odds are that it would have worked. Odds are that it would have worked against any other team in the lobby. But um because it was against Envy, it just didn't. I mean, they were ready for it. They were waiting for it. I've always talked about Envy as I know that now Moody is there instead of Caden and all, but and I don't know how. I mean, we can see right there clearly it's working pretty well. But I've always said that Envy is one of the teams that if they're four guys alive, maybe other than Tempo Storm. I mean, these are probably two of the titans in the server. I mean, there are three teams to me that stand out: Cloud9, Tempo Storm, and Envy in the aspect of late game fighting. I mean, they know how to do it. They've played together for long enough to have clear comms. I mean, they know how to fight in those scenarios, and there's not a whole lot more to it than that, really. So impressive to say the least. And when this is done loading, we'll go straight into game number two. I'm liking this. I hope you guys are enjoying it as well. And again, please, if you have any questions, do feel free to ask all of them. That's one of the reasons we're here, you know. We just like to keep it informative. Is that if that's the word? Informative? Yeah, I think so, right? So, how do I fix my hair in the morning? I go like this. Good morning, guys. How are we doing? Easy. Easy. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Ivel. So if you ever want to grow long hair like me, just now you know how. Now you know what's up, right? That is how it's done. Let's see here. Game number 1 is in the books. Game number. Why does it say day 2? Sorry, that's completely misinformed. Why didn't you guys correct me at any point in time? Damn you. Nonetheless, game number 2. Game number 2 is underway. And let's see. Western Plain, as far as I remember, there aren't a lot of Eastern teams anyway. So it's not really the biggest deal. Holy yikes. Wow. I didn't watch this game, by the way. That's the thing. Sometimes I knew the game. Sometimes I watched the games before. Sometimes I watch them after. Do exclamation mark. Syria, do exclamation mark program, and you will find out. You will find out. But nonetheless, interesting circle. One of the most interesting aspects of it is not only, sorry, because a little bit of Eastern Plain, it would have been a lot easier for these teams. And it seems ironic how a circle how a plane path that's not in the circle makes it easier than a plane path that does go to the circle. Because you're like, well, the teams are in now, so what's the big deal? Well, that's the big deal because look at how many teams are on the southern side right now. It's completely stacked with teams down here. These teams would have gotten here anyway, I'm sure, had it been an Eastern plane. But how the hell is a team from the south, you ask yourself, in Los Leones, going to get into this area? Two options. Because the thing is, you have to think of it as a layer cake, right? You cannot just smash them together. That's not going to work. So in order for SSG to move further center, they need Noble to move further center. In order for Simplicity to move further center, they need SSG to move further center. In order for Cloud9 to move further center, they need Simplicity to move further center. You kind of see what I'm coming from here, right? So for anyone that want to skip that whole steppity step up into the circle, one side, two side. Maybe if you're greedy, you can go like this. Um, That's what you want to do. Because the thing is, normally when you have a circle, you just say, oh, we just drive around it and get it on the other side. Well, I mean, good luck with that because you can't drive out of the map and you can't go up on this here either, right? So how are you going to do that? Teams probably want to go. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see a team that goes all the way north of Oasis, to be honest. So far out on one side, far out on the other. And if you're a team that rotates really late, like if you're a Cloud9 and they just say we're close, but there's no reason for us to rush this. They can just sit around and wait, and they'll want to rotate early sometimes, like whenever they get looted and stuff. But they could just like drive. There's a little bit of a path here, go up like that, when they know that Simplicity would have left. So let's keep these two lines drawn and see how many teams actually listen to Coach Toby and do what we tell them to do. Thank you, Tempo Storm. Seems like you're doing what I'm telling you to. Thank you, Lasarius. Now everyone's going to start rotating. They wait for SSG to move. Cloud9 smoking aces side by side. It's kind of interesting. Wasn't it Lasarius that used to always drop down here? Like they would loot this with Cloud9 kind of. That's so funny to me that they were splitting it. Lasarius going up one side. I would assume it would be very surprising to me if Tempo Storm don't go around on either one of the sides. Looks like Senpai is going down south. Okay, and so are all the other guys. So you can see it right here. Ghost, they're going in very late. They're going to go center. Around the edge is going to be endemic as well. Shoot to kill is going to be up here. All these teams are coming in from the west now. And this is the funny thing, right? Because because these teams, they waited for so long. Yeah, exactly. They used to go down to the split compounds outside. Because all these teams now have moved up as far as they have, look at the amount of room you have on the southern side of the circle. I mean, sure, there's still many teams to come in, but there's so much room down here for all these teams. So if the next circle goes down south, well, I mean, that's going to be really interesting for all these teams to try and figure out how to get down there because, as you can see, there are quite a few teams. quite a few teams up here, and it's a very hard area to kind of maneuver around with vehicles. And you have the big craters, and yeah, it's just a tricky place to really do anything. New circle pups, El Poso, interesting. I don't know who put this in the game. Like there's a game developer, map designer, who has been trolling the hardest he's ever trolled before. But let's just call it an elephant for now. You can never unsee it now, by the way. You can never unsee it. There's that one, and then there's also this one. Let me just go back real quick, just for the sake of that. Doesn't it? If you take this picture and like mirror it, right? Look at this. I don't. It's just look at this, right? Out here. If you just look at the black line here, we're in Miramar. This is Mexican, right? You know, Spanish guitar and all that stuff. Look at this and tell me that if it flipped twice, like if it was like this, so it was twice, that this wouldn't be a guitar, whatever you call it. Wouldn't this be a guitar if you had like if you had it over here as well? Just double the image to the left. I don't know. It's just so we have both penises and guitars in Picado. Oh, in Miramar. It's that's just how it is. I don't know why, but I've always wondered, always been like, why? Why do we have that? Maybe there are more of them. I just haven't noticed. Maybe there are more things to look for. But nonetheless, this is where we are headed. To the penis of Miramar. And well, at least this is the issue, right? Because everybody knows that when you have this circle and you come in from the south, you cannot go center. The center is already taken, so you kind of have to go into El Poso. El Poso is one of the cities that's better. Can't unsee the elephant. Oh, that's the elephant in the room that we don't want to talk about, right? Aha! Maybe that's what it is. They don't want to talk about the elephant in the map, so they just kind of left it there. Yeah. Yeah, nice try, Ival. Actually, you know what? There was a bit of BM in the Pro Discord yesterday, and I felt like I made a pretty good one. Ival, you're gonna love this. Roses are red, violets are blue. NA would be nothing without players from EU. Got him! Oh, that was fun. I laughed. I sometimes laugh at my own jokes, but this one I actually kind of laughed at. I mean, I love the NA scene. I love the players there too. No hate at all. It was just funny. uh, good times, good times. Tempo Storm, they're coming in from the south, and they're gonna be happy with that because this circle really allowed for them to push up. Had they gone north instead, they would have been at a much harder access point for them. Because look at this, if they come up like here in the previous circle, right? Where will you go from here? Whereas if you come in from the south, you have El Poso. It's always good. That's the thing, because as much as everybody hates to go into the cities, as good is it to have a city nearby? Because a city is one of those kind of emergency brake. Well, I mean, we didn't get to do what we wanted to do. Let's just go into the city and see what happens. You'll stay alive, most likely, and you might have a rough rotation if the circle shifts out of it, but at least you kind of it's like a get out of jail free card, right? Get out of the lobby free card. Or I guess stay in the lobby free card. Just go into the city. Boop, you can stay alive for a circle longer. Um so yeah, it's just like skipping a bad rotation by going into the city. So for Tempo Storm, now they have El Poso, should they want to go there. And El Poso is actually one of the better cities to be forced into, because it's one of those cities that really, really was changed a lot when they started putting compounds around in the open. There used to be a lot more building areas here, out here, I believe, as well. And down south there was much more stuff that you could sort of hide yourself in. But now that they've kind of thinned it out, there aren't that many buildings anymore. You have like a little bit of a clumsy area there in the middle in the intersection, by the arena and down here as well. But other than that, it's really thinned out. So even though it's like the close quarter combat, it's still far enough apart that you can kind of play as a team and not just the whole YOLO peak one angle be spotted by 15 players type scenario. Circle comes to a close. Let's see what's gonna happen. Boink. Crater Fields. Ah, hate to see it. Hate to see it. For many reasons. I'm drawing the line around the crater here, one of the testicles. And this is pretty much downhill for those of you guys who didn't know all the way around. So if all these teams that are coming in from outside now, down here, oh, it's a C. If all these teams that are coming in, oh, I'm drawing too much now, from down here, it's going to be uphill. And there's one thing you don't want to do rotating on Miramar. That's to be forced to drive uphill because you can't drive fast and the enemies will kill you. Simple reasoning. Which means that for teams that try to do it anyway, will most likely get killed because of it. I mean, that's just how it is. So you have to leave your vehicles in a circle where, I mean, you're probably going to leave your vehicles in this circle anyway, but it's just really hard to sort of have to do this uphill pushing towards the circle. It's so much easier when it's flat or when it's downhill. Here it becomes tricky for all these teams that aren't in already. And you see, this is what they're forced to do: go all the way out of the city, all the way around the edge, and try and find the new access point. Because, well, right now, Whites and Fade is just sitting up here, eyes in the sky, kind of eagle style, just picking off everyone. This is so much more open. It's such an easier, technically, area to play around. But when you put all these teams over here that really wants to go, you can see 4 teams just rotated out to the western side, right? Nobody wants to go over here because you already have a crater here. How are you going to enter the circle into a crater? Then you have to go down into it and then to jump up from it on the other side. If the circle goes west, it's going to be horrible. I mean, if you can avoid ever having to go down into a crater, that's great. But if you have to do it twice, not so much. Crater fields once again. So at some point, teams will be forced into these craters. You see, nobody really wants to go there. It's kind of a death sentence, right? It's a little like being in the city. Not only are you in a city, but you're in a valley in a city. There's just no exit. I mean, there's no way of getting out if you get stuck down there. If you're sitting down there, you're in a lower plateau. Odds are that the people on the ridge line will just be popping your vehicles, meaning that when you have to leave crater fields, the compounds, you'll be running around in the open and it's going to be death for you. I mean, we still have 57 players alive in Circle 5. That's absolutely insane. And this is the point that we reach where there's not enough room for everyone. I mean, there's not enough room for everyone in this circle. 53 people when the circle started closing in. And now we're down to 39. We just lost 14 players in not just one phase, but one circle shrink. One shrink of a circle killed 14 players and 4 teams. And that's what I'm talking about. If you can go center, like Envy, they're doing it again. Exact same as last game. Go center. If you can go here, you don't need to take fights. You don't need to get kills. If you can go center and get 4 kills, like keep 4 guys alive, odds are you're gonna bring for a good one in the next circle because you get the circle and you get to be 4 guys alive too. And outside that, you also have a pretty good place to sit in. So smart play by Envy, going center there, taking a good position in the circle. I guess Venerated was more center than Padcaps and Interrogate, but you know what I mean. So they're sitting down there trying to hold up everyone, and for all these people out on the edges, it's just rough. I mean, sure, now they get the circle, but again, try and put this circle anywhere. Try to put this white circle anywhere within the blue one. If it hard shifts south, Padcaps and Interrogate would still be in. Sure, Venerated and Moody would have to move, but they would still be in. No matter where this circle goes, even if it hard shifts up here in the corner, I think they would still be like on the edge somewhere like this. They would be in no matter what, so they never have to worry about leaving. Now we do see Emmy try to get together. Whites and Fate, they're trying to get together as well. Move on forward. Cloud9 want to push up from the south. It's a hard push. We talk about this whole down in the gutter kind of thing. K-Mine just says, you know what? I'm not gonna make that push in. I'm just gonna go die. Run down. I mean, it's so open here having to run down the hill, and there was no way in hell that he was ever gonna do that. Or be able to do that, I guess you can say. So we see Wildcard trying to hold up in their position. 3 compounds to be fought for. Majority of them are going to be out now. Whites and Fate would be wise in pushing over. Yep, and they do, but they're gonna get a lot of heat their way from Envy as they try to do that. There you go. Full team eliminated. Shoot to kill again. Alive in the late game. Impressive. And seems to me like, I mean, that's the thing, right? Who is gonna beat Envy in an up close fight? Who's gonna beat them? Tempo Storm maybe. Cloud9 maybe. Wildcard maybe, but not here. They just take control. I mean, look at it. As soon as they got the finish of, like as soon as Uncivil died, they just start pushing. They just go move forward. Padcaps immediately in the middle. He takes control of the circle and he gets it. He naded himself. Well, I mean, gotta do what you gotta do, right? Unfortunately, but not a whole lot more to it than that. So that was game number 2. I hope you guys are enjoying this. I know I am enjoying bringing it to you. So I hope you are having a good time watching along as well. Uh, uh, One more game of Miramar. And then we will be going back to Erangel for the final one. I have to make sure to know what time it is. I have to be at the studio in an hour and a half. So much dedication to PUBG. It's crazy. Everything I do these days. PUBG, PUBG, PUBG. Let's see. Let us see what we get. If the computer doesn't blow up before. Hello? That's the reason I haven't been streaming a lot. That the internet here is not always that forgiving, I guess you can say. I look like an NBA player? Huh. I guess that's a compliment. I mean, I am pretty tall, so that's good. And if he's good looking, then I guess it's even better. Oh, thank you, man. Much appreciated, man. Much appreciated. Glad you like it. Homepage, work. There we go. Everything is going a little slow right now. The internet is not really in the best mood. But we're trying. Just waiting, taking it one step at a time, and we'll get there eventually. Yeah, normally the quality of the stream is a little better. We'll have like some different overlays and stuff, but since I'm kind of on my own here in a hotel room in Ukraine, I have to, well, have to do what I gotta do in the aspect of not really having a whole lot to work with. Baby step. Can we get into the game? That's the big question. So far, so good. Because once we're in the game, it works perfectly fine. It's just because me streaming and doing this at the same time is it's a little slow. Come on. Seems like something's happening. And it has nothing to do with the web page. That's just me and my computer really, really, really wanting to stream this for you guys. So we'll just give it a second to load, and then we'll be ready with the game in just a few. This really does take a long time. I get so, what do you call it? In, what do you call it? Impatient with slow internet. Like when I'm visiting my parents' place, I tilt so easily. And also for all you guys who just followed the channel, by the way, thank you so much. And for Grim, I didn't even notice, sorry. It's when I have my learn sounds off, but thank you so much for the gifted sub to Beatty. Batty Boo. Buggy, Beatty, HIV positive, and 777. Thank you so much for the follows. Let's see. Miramar. Whew. There we go. So, game number 3. We've started it. Finally, thank you. The internet is now willing to work with us again. And, well, it's the same plane as the last one, just opposite direction. So let's see if the circle gives us anything fun to work with. It does. It does actually give us something fun to work with. It goes east. And I don't know why it is, but we have had so many of these circles in EU over the last 2 weeks. Like, it's absurd how many in PUBG contenders that we've had. Like, actually insane. So I'm interested in seeing how these teams will play differently because you don't have a designated as a hard team. Normally you have a team out here, and we even have a team that's split looting around Junkyard and all these areas. So there's much more room to take for teams that want to go around the northern side. Ghost, they push out of Minas, they go up and take control up here. Graveyard's not gonna be contested by anyone, that's interesting. Cloud9, nice split they've got going down here. Really good centered positions. And the new circle pops. And up north we go. So, in order to make good rotation here, because the thing is, this entire area, if we draw it up like this, is an open field. There are compounds there, but you don't want to go through it because you're gonna get blown up, that's for sure. And you don't really want to drive through Hacienda either. San Martin, nope. So for teams, either they have to go up like this and well, technically all the way around this way, or they would have to go on the other side, either by El Azahar and in, or even further up north and in. Because it's so, I mean, this right here, this area, the road that you have here, these hillsides, they're so steep that you don't really want to drive down and up again. And the same thing could be said, I mean, as steep as this is, as flat is this. So it's just really tough to push into the circle from the south and being able to maintain like your speed and everything. I mean, it's Miramar of all things, so it's hard pretty much no matter where you go. But it's hard to get in from the south unless if you're just of course staying down here. So you see a lot of teams go out the one side and teams go out the other side as well, to be expected. Actually, 3 teams rotating out here together. That's interesting. I wasn't expecting that many. But Envy, they go around the eastern side as well. Cloud9 committed to one building. They had a 2-2 split, but they saw that Smoking Aces were coming, so they split up into the other side instead. And now, center. We talked about this field. Open with open on it. Alright. It's hard to play from. United comes in on the top. Water treatment will be available to VG. Cloud9, they're sending. I like the split actually. They keep 3 guys in the compound, and then they put Nerf up at an elevated position. He's like, on a pirate ship when you had a guy up in the mast. He's like looking out, land ahead, whatever they say. Ship ahoy. All those things. He's sitting up there trying to scout further forward and figure, is there anything clear? Anything clear? Might be seeing that Hacienda is clear. It's a tricky compound to spot from up there because of the walls out in front. But could see it. Just trying to figure what is available. What is available? Send the in-game leader up there. Let him do all the kind of thinking around in all those regards. What can they do from here? Because now new circle pops, and it goes somewhat center. And they should already be on the move, honestly. They know that they have smoking aces next to them, and they need to fight. I mean, they need to either they need to sit and then Nerf can sit up here because he most likely has seen and heard Basher cross, right? So if they know that Oxy is about to push out over to the other side of the road, they need to full speed ahead commit to that building before Smoking Aces get there. Yes! Thank you, Nerf. I love it. I love it when things unfold the way that I want them to. Because it means that not only am I cool for getting it right, but it also means that I understand what they're thinking. Like I can put myself mentally. That's the thing when I'm not a player. Um, that I can like that I'm on pair with them in the way that we think. It's kind of yeah, you know what I mean. You have to in order to be a pro, you have to think like a pro. You know, that's the first step, I guess. So I think what they hoped was that when they drove over, Oxy would all be leaving, but now they run into a full team fight instead. Oh, thank you for smoking aces, not engaging in this. They're still all four alive. That's good. They managed to kill off the majority of Oxymon. Oxy hasn't really had a good. I think are they still last place after yesterday's games? They have not had a good tournament so far. That's for sure. Circle goes center even more out in the open, and if we just look back a little second, because there were teams fighting all over the place, SSG, they're trying to push on out and get up towards water treatment, but there was just nothing to be taken right there. I mean, they wanted to get up in there. It's such a hard place because you have a huge hill on the eastern side of it, and it's so easy for people to contain you inside there. So that's what happened to them. United tried to fight off Envy, and Moody is kind of split off from his teammates, so he'll try and crawl in on his own. And then you have Cloud9. Wow, this circle is just brutal. I mean, that I guess that's the good thing. That's the good thing about Miramar, honestly, because there might not be that many trees and stuff, but at least it's not a field. You know how? I mean, there are no hay bales. Oh, there are hay bales on Miramar. Sorry, they're all up by Yasnaya. But the majority of the fields only have shacks and rocks, of course, and bushes. But you don't have cover. I mean, you have visual cover, bushes and small trees, but you don't have hard cover. You only get that with your vehicle. So if you go to Gatka, for example, there are bushes and small trees there, but they won't grant you any like bullet cover. They will only grant you visual cover for teams that are close enough to not have any foliage advantage. Whereas to here, because the elevations are so different on Miramar, more often than not, a team will be able to see you from really far away in a field, and if they can't see the grass, it's just going to be a pancake that they can spot you on. Very easy for them to get a kill there. But because they add in so many hay bales and things like that, it actually makes it somewhat easier to play in the open on Erangel, no, on Miramar, than on Erangel. To some extent. Only in the late game, of course. When you're early on, it's just horrible. But majorly in the late game, it becomes so much easier. You see Cloud9, they're trying to make that move across, and now everybody else has to figure how do we want to do this. And that's the issue, right? Because hay bales are only going to grant you cover from so many positions. So if you're getting shot from up here, you might be going on the other side, but then you'll be exposed to item fate or some of the teams that are sitting over on the west side. So even though they're sitting center, I like the idea. This is kind of the circle where being center can be extremely dangerous because you're relying on all these teams to focus each other rather than focus what you're doing in the middle. Get the circle again, guaranteed circle for them when they sit center. Right now, I mean, if everybody tries fighting them and pulls up on them, then they're completely done for. But because these teams are all fighting each other, they have a chance to just third party and kind of do their own thing. Smart positioning by them. They do lose one player though. Holy moly, was that just Purdy Curdy taking out all of them? Purdy pushes down and gets the nug onto Profi. Or it could have been a nade or something, because, yep, it's a double kill. And that's the issue, right? The hay bales, they only grant you so much cover. And if you even have vehicles in there too, which they do, then, well, I mean, those vehicles are going to be like your red barrels in any other video game. They will indeed explode and kill you. So unfortunate for Cloud. They still get fourth place, though. That's a pretty decent game for them, considering that they had to push in the open. Got some kills with that, too, I believe. Shoot to kill. Third game now in a row where shoot to kill is in the top 3 position. That's pretty impressive. That is pretty impressive. There you go. Taking out wildcard in the end of things. 3 games in a row now with shoot to kill in top 3. That is a good job. Well done by shoot to kill. But it's always so interesting with these open field endings. They're really, really tricky to kind of play around. And now let's see for the final game of the day. There you go. Game number 4. I'll just update it in here as well. There we are. Yes, game number 4. And again, guys, if you have any questions regarding anything that is related to, well, anything, we've seeming to have been talking about a lot of random shit today. So, but if you have any questions, please do fire away. Game number 4, last game of yesterday. And again, of course, I will be doing all this tomorrow for you guys to watch along for tonight's games, of course, that is. Eastern Circle. Okay, same as last game. Last one was more center, I guess you can say. But this time around, they for sure have to go out east. Cloud9, where will they go? All these teams in the north, where will they go? And this is what we're talking about, right? If there's no Severny team for shoot to kill, that's a weird rotation, but that could be done. I mean, they have so many chances to rotate out of Sarki with absolutely no one contesting them. So Sarki, even though it's far out, it's an underrated place to go, in my opinion. Not a lot of teams want to go there because it's so far out, and not a lot of planes allow for them to go there. But it is, to me, a very nice place to go to. Wildcard, they will go multi power. Didn't get a prim plane, makes sense. Nobody's on military island, that's a rare. A little rare that nobody's on military island, actually. I guess the plane wasn't really good for military anyway. Circle sent us up, and this is where it's so interesting because Miramar has the most, I would say, diverse terrain. No, Erangel, sorry, of the two maps. Because if you look at the condensity, I guess the word is, around Lumber Mill, how you have so many trees and you have all that stuff, really compact area there. Then you go down here, it's a huge open area. Sure, there are some small hillsides and some trees, but that's all. Between Moody in Alamo and Foshu, this is crazy open field. And then you have a city, and then you have compounds and a huge forest up here. So very, very different kind of end game scenarios. Normally, when you're early on in the game, Circle 2, Circle 3, you can kind of figure, okay, is it going to be a field ending? Is it going to be a city ending? How are things going to turn out here? But when you go out east, it's just so different. Same thing with the west. You have like the quarry, very unique area on Erangel. You have the swamp areas, very unique as well. So yeah, very interesting to see. A lot of teams going north around. This is interesting. Look at White Sims Fate's rotation. How they go about their things. Because they go up and over to cross the bridge. And you see what they're doing. I mean, they're sitting up here. They're waiting for rotations. They're just waiting to kill people. They have a chance from Rozok to just move up to Volcano and scout further forward, but they decide not to because they know there are teams that are going to be coming from behind that don't want to cross bridges. And if we can set up shop up here and get kills early on in the game, why wouldn't they want to? So they go up here, try to see if they can get anyone caught off, and they actually do manage to get themselves a kill onto Basher. But that's, I believe, all they get off with in that position there. Continue further over. They just hunt, shoot to kill. I like to see it. It's funny. And then the circle hard shifts south. Wow, okay, that's interesting. So again, very diverse terrain down here. Open field up here. Big forest hill area down here. Open beach area down here. Very different terrains. And a city in Mills, I guess, but if it goes all the way down there. It's very different. Still very unclear how or where the game would end. But everybody wants to go center, of course. That's the name of the game. Very hard to sit around center, though, because, again, we talked about it on Miramar as well. It's an uphill area. You do not want to be forced to drive uphill in your vehicles, especially when you know that you're in the circle late and there are multiple other teams around you. It's so dangerous. It's so, so, so dangerous to try and take vehicles all the way inside the circle like that. Circle goes down south yet again, even worse now, because that circle has to shift away from water. Sure, it could be all the way down here if we wanted to, but field open, don't go, and field open, don't go, I guess you can say, and then you have the big lumber mill area. Very tricky place to play around, especially with 57 people alive. Cloud9 splitting out, taking a lot of control, wanting to get those vehicles up together. Smart from Lopes to get those up. There you go. K-Mine picking up the other one. Lasarius wants to rotate all the way around. I like that rotation. Shoot to kill is going to be doing the same thing. I actually really like that. Smart play. Again, if you have a circle that hard shifts to one direction, utilize it. That's what we're talking about, right? Because look at this. With the exception of simplicity, everybody tries to go somewhat center. We draw the center of the white circle, right? If we keep that circle on the picture, and then we show you this one. Right now, if we don't think about simplicity, right now, this is the info for the teams up top, that this area remaining down here is going to be open. And if not completely open, of course, you can never expect there to be nobody. But that's going to be where you have the least amount of players inside the circle right now. So smart for smoking aces, smart from Lasarius to instead of saying, you know what, let's just try and drive up the hill into the madness, to go all the way around and underneath. I really like to, like not smoking aces, sorry, I mean shoot to kill. Really smart that they say, you know what, not going to happen, let's just go all the way around. Really, really smart. There's no reason for them to contest it. It's so tricky. Because here, you have technically, I know it's out in the blue, but you have all the room in the world to rotate around the circle, whereas on the other side, this is the gap you have. And there is already people fighting there, so there's no reason to try and rotate around the eastern side, because it's so much harder to make any room for yourself. Here you can rotate over the farm area, you have plenty of room to drive on down south, get yourself into a good position. Sure, the next circle will shift out of this out of the water, but you're still going to be in a good spot. There you go, shifts out, and then like worst case scenario, you can drop into Milta, right? So smart, both from Lasarius and from Shoot to Kill, really, really wise rotations. I like to see it. I like to see it. And now we're into those scenarios where there's very little, very few, I guess you can say, positions now that you can really go to other than inside Milta that aren't taken already. You do have the house here. I would assume to see Shoot to Kill try and scout that. They must have seen that it's empty, right? You would assume so. Yep, there you go. Thank you. But that also means that Shoot to Kill now knows that yellows are empty, so they could go up here instead. Thank you. You see, it all adds up. That's the good thing. Once you have your mindset on how players like competitive scene works, then you can start predicting things. That's all good. And that's what an IGL or in-game leader needs to be able to do, needs to figure. So if they go here because of this, like if they go here, that must be because they've seen a team leave here to go here, which means now that we know, even though we can't see this compound, that's going to be taken by one team. And I mean, all those things, you gotta think X amount of circles ahead at any given time. That's what's going to keep you alive, and that's what keeps so many of the top teams in PUBG alive for that much longer. So Hybok tries to come in really far out. He's like, guys, wait for me. Now he's crashing into what do you call it? A lumber mill. Not the kind of area you really want to be in, but I guess in lack of better places to go. Holy yikes, that's a fun circle, right? Big field taking up a big portion of the circle, pretty much like 40%, 35 maybe. If you draw a line down here, this is all nope area. You can just draw it. We draw it like water. This is an area that if you aren't in it already, you will not want to go there. So for all these teams, I'm so good at drawing. There you go. So for all these teams that are up here, which is the vast majority of them, they have to fight over what to see up here. And what you see is one house, two house, yellows, and trees. That is what you got for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, potentially 8 teams to try and fight their way through this. Make that 9 if Osiris wants to engage on this. They decide not to. But not exactly the kind of place you want to be forced to take fights because it's a huge slope down towards the city and it's just really, really tough to play around. Envy try to push in on foot, of course. No reason to have vehicles at this point. Nerf goes down. Try to split around. They might be split a little too thin here, honestly. If you look at it, if you Cloud9. Nerfs try to go. I mean, he heard the people shooting up here probably. Tries to go north to get info for his team, but he gets caught off by Crispier. Um, Considering that they know there's a team in Endemic inside the yellows, if they do know, I would assume that they do know. It might be a bit too greedy to have him split off so far and leave Profi and Kmart alone because they already lost Lopes, so pretty dangerous split to have. Now they're down to just two players. Profi pushing in by himself, he's getting caught off by Wildcard, tries to push in, and they both die because of it. So I don't know what caused Nerf to, because he was with the team right there, but then as they move in, he goes far north. He just isolates himself from his teammates. And there's no, I mean, they can't help him. So as smart and as wise as Cloud9 always plays, this was kind of a blunder to me. Of course, the specific scenario, there could be a billion reasons why he went up there, but it's dangerous for sure if you know for a fact that there's a team inside the compound. Endemic heard all the shots fired, they saw all the commotion, they want to get on third party. They realized they probably shouldn't have because they get eliminated. But well, you always kind of like to see that, right? You always kind of like to see when a team says, haha, let's third party this, and they'll be the bad guys. But then the team that is getting third party, they're just like 180 and just annihilate them. It's the same with Besiktas in the EU scene, where every time if they're rotating and a team starts shooting at them, like they're putting up an ambush for the rotation, they just jump out of their cars to shoot back, and nobody's ever prepared for that. In the beginning of PUBG, there wasn't an animation to proning. So when you press this prone button, whatever you key binded it to, you wouldn't like it wouldn't take. Now it's like ugh to lay down, right? Back then it was just like vroom, you just drop down. So what you could do if you're being shot at from behind, you just press prone and 180 at the same time, vroom, and you were just immediately ready to start shooting. And people would be like so confused. Oh my God, he's shooting back at me! I was not expecting this at all. You could catch so many people off guard. That was pretty funny. So we see shoot to kill, they try to push up, not gonna work. Simplicity tries to push up, not gonna work, at least not for now. Nope, there you go, all eliminated. Ghost push down towards Bertuk in the house. They get that. Nicely done by them. And somehow Sub-Zero, he was like, you know what, if you guys are gonna fight over on the west, I'm just gonna run over the field. And then he died. Not a whole lot more he could do from there. Taylor gets down one, and then it's wildcard. So from second to first place for wildcard. Good end games there. Good team as well. Know all the guys. Very, very nice players. Taylor is also a nice guy, but he died, so we don't want to talk about him. But good job by wildcard, must say. That they end up getting the game. They had I mean, they weren't that far off. I guess they're really happy, to be honest, because look at the situation, right? You have all the commotion in Milta. You have all the teams fighting up here, and then you have all the commotion up north. They were the eastern team. I mean, they changed their drop because of the plane, so they went Milta Power instead of Primorsk, and they just slowly stepped in. I mean, makes perfect sense. That's the thing. There's no reason, even though it's a kill every point system, no reason to go aggro early if you can, instead of doing that, and maybe only get a kill or two, have four guys alive in the final two circles. It's gonna boost you up so much in any given situation. So that, my friends, was game number 4 and the final game of yesterday's NPL games.